Hey, what's up, everybody? For your fix of fitness, health, life, and laughs, you know where it's at. That's right, it's at the Poecast with your host, yours truly, Adam Pullman.
Welcome to another episode of the Poecast. This is the show where all of your health, fitness, and nutrition questions are answered by me, your host and fitness coach, Adam Pullman. In today's episode, we're talking about unilateral training versus bilateral training. What are the advantages of unilateral training? Meaning training one side of your body. So, for example, doing lunges instead of a squat, stuff like that, or in addition to a squat. So we're going to be talking about why unilateral training is extremely beneficial, why you should incorporate it into your routine. So make sure you tune in to today's episode for more on that. Now, if you've been listening for a while, you want to get plugged into some more exclusive content, maybe catch some live Q&As from me, some live webinars on different health, fitness, and nutrition topics, so you can learn more about health, fitness, and how to improve your overall well-being. I invite you to come be a part of our private Facebook community. So what you can do to be a part of that is just send me a message on Instagram. My handle is Adam_PullmanFit, or send me an email, adam@pullmanfitness.com, and just say, hey, I want to be a part of your Facebook group, something like that, and I'll send you a link so you can request to join. Now that I bring up my Instagram handle, that reminds me that I didn't talk about the first part, which is the questions that are answered on this show. So this show is listener driven. So listeners just like you send in questions about health, fitness, and nutrition, and then I answer them here on the show. So if you have a question that you would like to have answered, you can do that on Instagram. Again, my handle is Adam_PullmanFit. Every single Saturday, you'll see a question box up there on my story that says, ask me a question. That is your green light to submit as many health, fitness, and nutrition questions as you would like. And then what I'll do is I'll answer the question in short on the story, and then in long form in detail like I am today here on this show. All right. So make sure you go ahead and do that. And lastly, before we get started, go ahead and check out pullmanfitness.com/free for some access to free articles, free guides, more information to help you along your health and fitness journey. That's at POEHLMANN fitness.com/free. All right. Today's question is advantages of unilateral exercises compared to bilateral. So real quick, unilateral just means one-sided or one limb, whereas bilateral would mean both sides at the same time. Okay. So for example, a bilateral movement would be a squat. A unilateral movement would be a split squat. Bilateral would be an overhead press with a barbell. Unilateral would be a one-arm dumbbell shoulder press, stuff like that. So two sides at the same time versus one side at a time. So what are the advantages? There are a lot of advantages. Just a few that I mentioned on the story: corrects imbalances. It helps avoid overusing your dominant side, recruits more core muscles, improves balance, and can help rehab more. So let's go through each of those. So correcting imbalances and helping avoid overusing the dominant side can kind of be bundled into the same thing here. Obviously, if you have some sort of imbalance that goes from one side to the other. So for example, let's say your dominant side is your right side and your right bicep is far stronger or far more developed than your left. Unilateral training can help your left catch up to your right, or at the very least keep your right at bay while your left catches up a little bit. Whereas if you kept doing barbell curls, for example, the odds that you use more of your right side than you do your left side might be high, considering your right side is far stronger than your left. Now, I also want to say this when addressing all of these topics around unilateral training versus bilateral. This is not to say that it's unilateral or bilateral. You should do one or the other. It should be both. It's just going to look different depending on what your goals are, what imbalances you might have, what exercises you haven't done before, what exercises you enjoy, stuff like that. So this is not an either or, it's more so of a both and, but we're just talking about the pros of unilateral training, just like there are pros to doing bilateral training, like pros to doing a barbell squat over a split squat. Okay. So The imbalances can be corrected really well when you're doing one-sided training. Like I mentioned, if one side's weaker, you can allow that other side to catch up, and it keeps you from overusing that dominant side, continuing to create a bigger and bigger and bigger imbalance. Okay. Now this can also play out not just with muscle strength and development, but just your recruitment patterns, the way you move. Let's say you have an imbalance in your right leg, your right quad. That could cause maybe some sort of shift in the way that you squat. And that shift in the way that you squat with load on your back changes your body alignment, and that translates into other parts of your life, other parts of your movement. Maybe that causes some lower back pain or hip pain or stuff like that. So all of this stuff, especially when it comes to muscle imbalances, play a role outside of the exercise. All right. So another benefit to the unilateral training is that you're going to be able to recruit more core muscles. So your obliques are going to be involved more. Your abs are going to be involved more. Your transverse abdominis is going to be involved more. A lot of that stuff, your trunk, your glutes are going to be involved more in your core because you have to be able to stabilize and balance in order to do things on one side versus both sides. For example, it's likely going to take more core stability for me to do a body weight split squat than it is a body weight regular squat. Just because I got both legs to balance on, more surface area, whereas if I'm doing a split squat, I just have the one leg or the one foot to balance on. Okay, so I need to make sure I have a a stable connection with my core in order to be strong and stable. So that's another pro of that one. And then the next one is that it improves balance, obviously. If you practice doing one-sided movements, you're going to have more balance. That's going to translate into everyday life or into sport and performance and benefit you in that way. But one that I find super interesting is the rehabilitation process. So if you're recovering from some sort of injury, I think unilateral training is so cool because an interesting thing that happens is that if one side is injured, let's say, for example, you break your right leg and you can't train your right leg for a while. If you train your left leg, some of the strength signal that from your left leg will actually translate into your right leg. And so what you can actually do is you can actually minimize the strength loss and minimize the muscle loss. You're still going to lose muscle and strength in the injured leg because it's not being trained at all, but you can actually minimize that by working the one side. I forget what it's called when one side translates over to the other. There's some sort of scientific name for it, but it's super fascinating. And it's been useful for a lot of people when recovering from injury. It helps them recover quicker because now they've got less of a gap to make up for. Because since they instead of not training at all, they still trained the one side, and that allowed their other side, their weaker or injured side, to maintain a little bit of strength. So that way, when they come back, there's less of a gap to make up for. Okay, now one might say, well, wouldn't that just mean the other side, the non-injured side, would get way stronger than the other? Maybe. It depends on how you utilize it. Are you pushing that non-injured side balls to the wall while the other one isn't doing anything? Or are you just giving it your regular frequency of maybe 2-3 times a week, moderately high intensity, challenging yourself but not going too crazy hard? Kind of depends. But regardless, I think it's super fascinating that one side can be in a cast, not doing anything, and can still somehow get some strength benefit and muscle benefit from the other leg that's doing all of the work. Okay, now again, this is extremely minimal. This is not stuff that you're going to really see tangibly, probably. It's stuff that you're more so going to notice and feel. And for example, well, you might not, but for example, if they do a study where they have, two individuals coming back from an injury, one doesn't train, one does, and one does the one side, the other one doesn't do anything. The other person, the person training the leg that's not injured will have greater strength in the leg that is injured when they come back than the other person. It's really fascinating. So I think that's a really cool benefit of unilateral training if you are coming back from an injury. Regardless of whether you're injured or not, unilateral training is a great thing to incorporate in your routine. If it's not something that you've explored, start with one exercise, or add a different exercise. So maybe you could say, okay, maybe instead of doing, barbell bicep curls, I'm going to do dumbbell bicep curls. Or, you know what, I already do squats, but my lower body needs a little bit more attention. So I'm going to add Bulgarian split squats, or I'm going to add walking lunges, stuff like that. I think that can be a great opportunity for you to enhance your results, improve your body's movement and function, and get more out of your workout program. Right? So if you enjoyed this episode, make sure you spread the love, share this show with your friends and family, let them know where they can go to get all of their health, fitness, and nutrition questions answered.
Oh my goodness, I cannot believe it is over already. Hey, thank you guys so much for listening to the Poecast. Hey, listen in. If you have a health and fitness goal that you are trying to reach, I don't know what else to say other than to say it must be a match made in heaven. If you didn't know already, Pullman Fitness exists to transform the body, mind, and spirit through personal coaching and sustainable fitness plans for any stage of life. So, if you want to reach your goals, build sustainability, and enjoy life all at the same time, you guys got to check out Premier Coaching at Pullman Fitness. From custom-tailored programming to 24/7 access to your personal coach, you'll have everything that you need to succeed. You guys can find out a lot more about Premier Coaching as well as our membership program at pullmanfitness.com. Hey, if you enjoyed the show, share the love by leaving a 5-star review and introducing the Poecast to your friends and family. As always, thank you so much for listening, and until next time, this is the Poecast.